Insurgency in South Thailand will not disrupt Malaysia joint plans. And also, Malaysia must increase attractiveness as investment centre. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim today reiterated his sharp focus on the deep south border area between Malaysia and Thailand, where a near two-decade insurgency is undermining big investment plans for the zone. On a two-day visit to the kingdom's capital, the Prime Minister stressed several focus areas to include economic cooperation, border area development, amidst enhancing collaboration in food security and digitalization.
It is unfortunate because these small skirmishes have led to a lot of tension, some sort of resentment and distrust. So we'll have to appeal to all forces, both in Thailand and in the south, or even some in Malaysia, to understand and appreciate that peace must be of paramount consideration.
Datuk Seri Anwar said this during a joint press conference with his Thai counterpart Prayut Chan-o-cha. Thailand's southernmost provinces of Pattani, Yala, Narathiwat and parts of Songkhla are an important crossroads for north-south trade between Kuala Lumpur and Bangkok, officially known in Thai as Krungthep Maha Nakhon. They remain a strategically pivotal neck of land connecting Thailand to Malaysia. This is Datuk Seri Anwar's maiden visit to Thailand after being sworn in as the 10th Prime Minister in November last year. This is also his fourth international official visit after Indonesia, Brunei and Singapore. The government is in the midst of finding ways to reduce the people's financial stress without them having to withdraw their savings from the Employees Provident Fund, EPF. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar said this was because the people had already been allowed to make several EPF withdrawals before, which had certainly caused the amount of their savings retirement to decline.
Dulu kita minta dikeluarkan, banyak dikeluarkan. Jadi yang tinggal RM10,000, RM5,000, yang nak keluarkan tu kena fikir apa pilihan kita. Dia ada RM5,000, dia ada RM10,000 nak keluar. Pencen 4 tahun lagi apa nak jadi? Jadi saya ingat liputan tu mesti adil.
He said this to reporters after the University Selangor's Kursi Siddiq Fadzil Distinguished Lecture at its Bestari Jaya campus today. He said this when asked whether another EPF withdrawal would be considered in the revised budget 2023. The Prime Minister said the government had to really mull over the possibility to allow the withdrawal to prevent people from suffering from financial stress after retirement. Malaysia must climb out of the middle income trap after languishing more than 2 decades in the upper middle income bracket as per the World Bank classification. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi said the fact is if Malaysia fails to up its competitive advantage and attractiveness as a centre for investment, its competitors will forge ahead, which in turn will affect the country's national prosperity and the well-being of ordinary Malaysians. He said the government is committed to create an economic environment where every Malaysian can fulfill their potential, whereby entrepreneurs and the spirit of entrepreneurship are of utmost importance.
And the government will continue to cut red tapes that hinder businesses and entrepreneurs. Making profit, paying your fair share of taxes, I believe, and creating quality employment is a good thing. It must be facilitated at all levels of government, whether federal, state or local.
Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid said this in his speech when officiating a seminar organised by MarkPlus Institute ASEAN titled Entrepreneurial Marketing, How to Grow Your Business Post-Pandemic today. He said moving forward post-pandemic, technology is still the single most important factor that continues changing the socio-economic landscape and influencing consumer choices, and so does the human factor. All departments and agencies under the Ministry of Rural and Regional Development (KKDW) are today told to utilize communication and digital technology to channel information to the rural community, as well as obtain data and information about the target group. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi, who is also Rural and Regional Development Minister, said that internet access and the use of smartphones should be fully utilized, including for collecting data directly from the rural community.
Kerana saya melihat interaktif melalui data-data yang kemudiannya diproses, dianalisis secara kritikal oleh agensi, oleh jabatan-jabatan dan kementerian sendiri, adalah suatu bentuk proses membuat keputusan atau decision making proses malah boleh dikongsi dengan kementerian-kementerian lain demi merangka dasar negara yang lebih terkini dan dekat dengan denyut nadi rakyat.
He said this when speaking at the ministry's monthly assembly today. However, Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid reminded KKDW staff to not abandon human interaction but to wisely combine technological and digital developments with personal touch. UMNO has submitted all the information required by the Registrar of Societies (ROS) on the no contest motion for its top two posts, which was approved at the party's 2022 General Assembly. UMNO President Datuk Seri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi, who is also the Deputy Prime Minister, said that all necessary explanations and information had been submitted by the Party Secretary General Datuk Seri Ahmad Mazlan to the ROS.
There were discussions between our Sekjen Sisusago UMNO, Dr. Sri Ahmad Mazlan, and our legal advisor. They have met. They went to ROS twice. And they were given 60 days, to provide few explanation, detailed explanation. I believe our Sekjen has fulfilled all the requests of ROS, and they have provided details of the information needed.
He said this when asked to comment on the development of two UMNO members who lodged a report with ROS 3 weeks ago, seeking an investigation into a possible breach of the party's constitution. The majority of delegates present at the 2022 General Assembly, however, expressed support for the additional motion proposed by Negeri Sembilan UMNO representative Muhammad Shukri Shamsuddin to keep the position of President and Deputy President uncontested in the next UMNO election. Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid, when met today, said that the 2022 General Assembly was conducted in accordance with the party's rules and constitution. When asked if UMNO had received appeal letters from Sembrong Member of Parliament Datuk Seri Hishamuddin Hussein and former Tiram Assemblyman Datuk Maulizan Bujang, whose memberships have been suspended for 6 years, Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid said that he had not received any appeal letters from them.
So far, I haven't received any letter of appeal from anybody.
Would you accept the letter of appeal if there is one?
I will accept, but I will leave it to a disciplinary board to study it. Okay?
KLIA and KLIA-2 may soon be rebranded as KLIA Terminal 1 and Terminal 2 respectively, according to Transport Minister Anthony Loke. He said the move was expected to take place after the inking of a new comprehensive agreement between the government and Malaysia Airports Holdings Berhad (MAHB) by the first quarter of this year.
Dengan keputusan Jemaah Menteri ini, OA sebelum ini ataupun perjanjian operasi sebelum ini akan dibatalkan dan kerajaan akan menandatangani satu operating agreement baru dengan MHB dengan memberikan konsesi untuk pengurusan lapangan terbang ini sehingga tahun 2069. Jadi itu akan ditandatangani. Sebenarnya adalah satu kesinambungan. Tetapi apa yang beza dalam operating agreement baru ini, ia memberikan lebih banyak flexibility terhadap cara pembangunan lapangan terbang.
In announcing this today, Lok said the proposal was part of the major reforms to relieve the burden of the government to build new airports or to upgrade existing ones, especially secondary airports. The agreement between both parties covers operations, management, maintenance and development of 39 airports and airfields in the country, all the way to Sabah and Sarawak. Lok also said the cabinet has agreed to the proposed rebranding of KLIA and KLIA2 to improve their marketability in view of regional competition. However, this will take some time as there are administrative matters to be sorted out with relevant authorities that include the International Civil Aviation Organization and the International Air Transport Association. On another note, Lok said that the Land Public Transport Agency APAD and the Road Transport Department JPJ have been instructed to conduct an immediate investigation against a tour agency after its van was involved in a fatal accident at kilometre 4.8 Jalan Genting Highlands near Bentong, Pahang yesterday. He said the Malaysian Institute of Road Safety Research, MIROS, meanwhile, has been directed to conduct an investigation and study the cause of the accident. Briefing reporters today, he said MIROS is responsible for reviewing the safety of road conditions, and the findings of all these agencies will be submitted to the Works Ministry. Lok said among the focus of the investigation include studying the road design and corners at the scene of the accident to determine if they posed a danger to road users. He said this was after the vehicle was said to have lost control while approaching a sharp bend. The accident involved a tourist van that crashed while on its way to Pulau Pinang from Genting Highlands at 1:15 p.m. yesterday. 6 victims, including the van driver, died on the spot, while the 7th victim died while being treated at the Kuala Lumpur hospital. In a foreign front, Australia defends officers to remove all Chinese-made security cameras. Stay with us. First, French President Emmanuel Macron and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky departed from an airfield in France today to attend an EU summit in Brussels. Zelensky is expected to lobby European leaders at the summit in Brussels for more weapons in the fight against Russia and a quick start to EU membership talks for his country. While the Ukrainian leader is unlikely to secure immediate pledges to satisfy his requests, the visit gives him a chance to make his case in person with the EU's 27 national leaders for the first time since Russia's invasion nearly 1 year ago on 24th February 2022. The trip was only Zelensky's second known time out of his country since the war began and followed a surprise visit to Washington in December. In addition to attending an EU summit, Zelensky was due to address the European Parliament during his visit to the Belgian capital. Zelensky has urged France and Germany to be game changers by sending modern planes to aid in the war against Russia. Western countries have scaled up their pledges of military aid for Ukraine this year, with promises of hundreds of tanks and armored vehicles, as well as longer-range weapons, but have so far refused to deliver combat planes. The Kremlin said today that it would be Ukrainians who suffered if Britain or other Western countries supplied fighter jets to Kyiv. It also said Moscow would press on with its military campaign in Ukraine, regardless of what arms the West sent. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said that any delivery of advanced NATO standard fighter jets would only bring pain and suffering to Ukrainians and criticized NATO countries taking a more direct role in the conflict. According to Peskov, the line between indirect and direct involvement is gradually disappearing. Western countries' continued involvement in the war may lead to an escalation of tension, prolong the conflict, and make the conflict more painful for Ukraine. If the West agrees to Zelensky's calls for fighter jets, Peskov said Russia will not be deterred and will continue with what it calls its special military operation in Ukraine until Moscow has met its objectives. Australian Defence Minister Richard Marles said that the government will examine surveillance technology used in offices of the Defence Department amid reports that Chinese-made cameras installed there raised security risks.
Well, look, I think this is an issue, and we, in respect of what's in the newspapers today, we're doing an assessment of all the technology for surveillance within the defence estate, and where those particular cameras are found, they're going to be removed. So, there is an issue here, and we're going to deal with it.
Australian media reported yesterday that the National War Memorial in Canberra would remove several Chinese-made security cameras installed on the premises over concerns of spying. The move comes after Britain in November asked its departments to stop installing Chinese-linked surveillance cameras at sensitive buildings. Some US states have banned vendors and products from several Chinese technology companies. In response, China urged Australia be fair to Chinese surveillance camera companies, saying they have always encouraged enterprises to carry out foreign cooperation in accordance with market principles and international rules. Nuclear-armed North Korea showcased its missile production muscle during a nighttime parade yesterday, displaying more intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, than ever before, and hinting at a new solid field weapon. State news agency KCNA said North Korea held a widely anticipated military parade in Pyongyang to mark the 75th anniversary of the founding of its army. Leader Kim Jong-un attended with his daughter, who is seen as playing a possible future leadership role in the hereditary dictatorship. KCNA reported that the ICBMs showed North Korea's greatest nuclear strike capability, adding that the parade also featured tactical nuclear units. Imagery released by state media showed as many as 11 Hwasong-17S, North Korea's largest ICBMs, which are suspected to have the range to strike nearly anywhere in the world with a nuclear warhead. Man United bounced back to draw 2-2 with managerless leads. That and more next in sports. Ahead of the Malaysian Super League, which will kick off soon, Negeri Sembilan Football Club NSFC has signed 3 new import players to strengthen their team to face the new season. Its head coach, K. Devon, said the registration process for the 3 new import players are currently ongoing and has been approved by the club's management.
So sekarang dia akan masuk pada 2 minggu sebelum perlawanan, dan juga persiapan pasukan menggunakan 3 pemain import dan 5 pemain import adalah berbeza. So kita mengambil pemain import untuk mengisi tempat-tempat yang kita rasa ada kurang kualiti dengan local players. So kalau kita ada 3 saja, dan selain daripada itu kita kena gunakan pemain lokal. So dari segi perancangan saya memang ada terganggu sikit, tapi ini keputusan daripada pihak pengurusan dan saya kena ikut, dan saya akan cuba buat yang terbaik untuk pasukan.
On the other hand, Kelantan United FC, KUFC, have filled up their quota of 5 foreign players after signing Brazilian striker David de Santana Silva for the Super League this season. KUFC Chief Operating Officer Wan Muhammad Zul Iqman said in a statement today that the 26-year-old David, who had played in Brazil, Portugal and Albania, signed the one-season deal yesterday. David had also featured in the qualifying rounds of the UEFA Champions League and Europa League. The team management believes David, who has also played in Europe, will be able to help give a tougher fight to the other Super League teams this season. David is expected to offer a much-needed boost to the team's attacking capabilities. KUFC have already signed 4 other imports, namely Jose Elmer Porteria from the Philippines, Jan Victor, Brazilian Silva Paisao, Morgaro Gomes from Senegal, and Ernest Bateranov from Kyrgyzstan. And moving to international football, the Club World Cup tournament, Real Madrid reached the final after goals from Vinicius Jr., Federico Valverde, Rodrigo and Sergio Arribas secured a 4-1 win over Egypt's Al Ahly in Morocco this morning. Playing without sub-break when Valverde tapped into an empty net from a rebound. The Spanish side wasted opportunities to extend the lead, and Al Ahly received a lifeline when Eduardo Camavinga tripped Hussein El Shahad inside the area in the 65th minute, and defender Ali Ma'alul tucked away the penalty. Real Madrid's Luka Modric missed a penalty 3 minutes from the end of the game, but Rodrigo and substitute Arribas completed a comfortable win in stoppage time. Real will face Saudi Arabia's Al Hilal in the final in Rabat on Saturday. Still in football, in the English Premier League race, Manchester United fought back from 2-0 down to rescue a point against managerless Leeds United after a thrilling 2-2 draw at the Old Trafford this morning. Leeds, under the charge of caretaker boss Michael Skubala, following the dismissal of Jesse Marsch, struck after just 55 seconds through Wilfred Gnonto and went up 2-0, up with a goal, almost as early in the second half, courtesy of Rafael Varane turning the ball into his own net. But Man United pulled level with two quick-fire goals from Marcus Rashford and Jadon Sancho in the 62nd and 70th minutes to salvage a draw. The result keeps Man United in third place, but just 3 points above fourth place Newcastle, who have a game in hand. Leeds' potentially vital points lift them above West Ham and into 16th place on goal difference, a point above the relegation zone. Man United had beaten their Roses rivals Leeds by a scoreline of 11-3 in their previous two clashes at Old Trafford, and the visitors were on a 7-game Premier League winless streak that led to manager Marsch being sacked this week. Former RB Leipzig manager Domenico Tedesco has been named head coach of Belgium to replace Roberto Martinez. The Belgian FA said the 37-year-old would sign a contract until after Euro 2024, and that his first game in charge will be their opening qualifier against Sweden in Stockholm on 24th March. Tedesco, who was born in Italy but grew up in Germany, said his first priority would be to meet the players. He said his main target as new coach would be to qualify his team for Euro 2024 and warned it would be, quote, very tough.
I'm just that motivated. I'm very hungry to work, to start working for the federation here. I can't wait, and I think that this is a strength that I have to be very motivated, and I can't wait to start working here.
Martinez left the role after Belgium crashed out in the first round of the World Cup in Qatar in December last year. He has since been named Portugal manager. Belgium's plans to name Tedesco had been hampered by his contract negotiations with Leipzig. He was fired in September, but is still entitled to an estimated €1 million in wages. And in other development, national women's hockey player Hanis Nadia On was suspended and not allowed to represent the national team at the 2023 Cambodia SEA Games this May. Now, the action was taken against her for making sensitive comments on social media involving a recent international artists' concert in Stadium Nasional Bukit Jalil recently. The decision was made by an investigation committee of the National Sports Council (MSN) and the Malaysian Hockey Confederation (MHC), which met last Tuesday. As a result of the session and after evaluating some other findings regarding the issue, the committee concluded that Hanis Nadia had uploaded racist comments because the comments were directed at the concert, the majority of whom attended were Indians. Accordingly, the committee found Hanis Nadia guilty as an individual for making statements or comments publicly on a social media account that tended to insult, curse, or insult others. In the meantime, the investigation committee hopes that the action taken will serve as a useful lesson to always be careful with any acts on all
The number of malicious and false statements spread by SMS or social media platforms have become too widespread. The public is advised to be careful and not fall for such ploys and sharing or forwarding such messages. Remember that spreading fake news is an offence under Section 233 of the Communications and Multimedia Act 1998. This carries the penalty of a fine not exceeding 50,000 ringgit or up to 1 year imprisonment or both upon conviction.
Wrapping up the news at 10, in our top story, insurgency in South Thailand will not disrupt Malaysia joint plans. Do join us again tomorrow at updates at noon, coming up tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. on TV2. You can also stream it via RTM's mobile click application. Till then, it's lights out. I'm Brendan Lepol. Thank you for watching. Take care.